So, monoculars versus binoculars. Is it worth your hard-earned cash to spend nearly 2.5 times more money to get a binocular system over a monocular system? In my opinion, not really. Now, of course, the housing only tells half the story because you also have the tube inside, which is pretty much where all the magic happens. But really what we're talking about is the difference between having two versus having one. Now, ultimately, it comes down to a question of luxury. Think of it in the sense of a car. If you have a car that's very cheap, it will still ultimately be able to get you from point A to point B. It's going to do basically the exact same thing, but a luxury car is going to get you there probably quicker, more efficiently, and it's going to be all around safer. And the car will last a lot longer, but it's also a lot more expensive. And I think it's the exact same situation when it comes to binoculars versus monoculars. The only real difference and major improvement you get with the binocular system is just better perception. Now, by perception, I mean things just look more natural because you have two eyes looking through the same sort of thing instead of one eye kind of messing with the other. Now, you don't get any increased field of view wearing binoculars unless you're using a panning system like the RPNVG, and that housing alone costs nearly the price of an Elbit tube in America, which is about $2,500. They're not cheap, but a monocular device will basically give you everything a binocular device gives you just for 2.5 times less the money. Now, what tubes do I actually have in these units? What experience do I have to make these claims? Well, the left unit is an L3 24UA 2700 FOM unfilmed white phosphor unit. It's quite a high spec unit. It's a very, very, very good unit. It's definitely my king of night vision when it comes to using something that works in the dark. I can't lie. I have binoculars. I'm going to fucking use them. But in the middle, I have a Photonis Echo Plus with a 34.5 SNR, 2400 FOM. And I have to say, they're very similar units. There's not all that much difference between them, to be honest. And the difference between the PVS14 in the middle and the unit on the left is the difference between $8,000 to $9,000. The L3 unit on the left is about $13,000. The unit in the middle is about $3,500. The unit on the right is about $7,000. The point I'm trying to make in this video is just because it's a binocular system does not necessarily justify the price increase. Now, yes, you're buying two tubes, but the housing is also a major factor, and the housing can cost the equivalent sometimes of one intensifier tube in some cases. They're very expensive. Whether they're worth the extra money is all dependent on whether you can actually afford it. But in my opinion, the funnest device out of all three of these is the middle one, because no matter what anybody tells you, you cannot go wrong with a PVS14. They're some of the most durable housings. They have some of the biggest and most extensive history of all night vision housings on the market, and you just can't go wrong with one. Now, tube selection is important, but ultimately you have to also account for your budget. You don't want to be spending $12,000 to $14,000 on a night vision unit that you can't afford, because you ultimately don't need one. If a monocular is going to do the exact same thing for you that a binocular system will, because it will do that, it's probably just better to save a lot of money, 4 times as much money, and just go and get an Echo Plus unit. It will probably be a better investment for you in the long run than basically selling a kidney to buy a fucking night vision device.